In the kingdom of Viridia, the rivers flowed with poisoned water, and the skies were perpetually gray. The ruler, King Malaki, was a man whose heart was as barren as the lands he governed. He taxed his people into starvation, not for the kingdom's treasury, but for his own amusement. His castle was a labyrinth of opulent halls and empty rooms, a mirror of his own soul. One day, a young woman named Elara, whose family had been ruined by the king's greed, decided she had had enough. Armed with nothing but a sharpened wit and a fierce determination, she vowed to bring down the wicked king and restore life to her home. She began by planting a secret garden, a tiny patch of rebellion in the heart of the dying kingdom. It was a small act, but it was a start. And in a kingdom choked by darkness, even the smallest glimmer of light can spark a revolution. Elara's garden grew in the shadow of the palace walls. Fed by rainwater she collected in broken pots and soil she enriched with compost made from scraps. She hid it behind a tapestry of weeds, careful that no guard would see the green defiance taking root. Word spread quietly, first to a baker's boy who noticed her hands stained with earth, then to an old weaver who slipped her seeds in exchange for bread. Each new sprout became a promise. When the first flower opened a stubborn blue bloom, Elara plucked it and left it on the windowsill of a neighbor whose son had been taken for unpaid taxes. The next morning, she found a carrot laid in its place. By the time King Malaki heard whispers of a green witch undermining his rule, the gardens had already multiplied, small, scattered, almost invisible, but alive. He ordered patrols to trample any patch of color, but for every plant torn up, two more appeared elsewhere. The people began to hum old songs again while they worked, and the guards, tired and hungry like everyone else, sometimes looked away. Elara never raised a sword. She simply kept planting, knowing that a kingdom starved of beauty would be reminded, one petal at a time, that life could not be taxed into silence. The king's patience snapped when a vine crept through a crack in the throne room floor and unfurled beside his gilded chair. He called it sabotage, ordered the stone sealed, and had 3 gardeners, innocent men who tended palace hedges, thrown in the dungeons. That night, Elara stood at the edge of the market square and did something she had avoided. She spoke aloud. "They punish us for growing," she said, voice low but clear, "but they cannot outlaw spring." A handful of people paused. No one applauded. Applause would have been dangerous. But the next evening, a line of washing hung between the tenements, bloomed with wild flowers tucked into the rope. Malaki tried fear, curfews, informants, attacks on water. Yet water found its way into buckets, into gutters, into the roots of things people refused to let die. Elara began to teach children how to save seeds, calling it a game of hiding treasure. Within weeks, rooftops hosted secret trays of greens. The gray Viridia was growing freckles of green. And in the castle, the king who owned everything felt, for the first time, something slip beyond his reach. By the first rain of autumn, the palace gardens, once trimmed into obedient lines, were tangled with volunteer seedlings no knife could fully erase. King Malaki paced his halls, hearing laughter in the courtyard where guards once barked orders. He sent soldiers to rip up rooftop trays, but neighbors passed the same plants hand to hand, lowering them in baskets to balconies below. What was rooted in one place had learned to live in many. Elara did not storm the gates. She did something simpler. She walked to the front of the bread queue one gray morning and set a loaf on the king's empty tax table, then beside it a bowl of seedlings. People watched from doorways. A guard shifted his weight. No one gave the order to arrest her. That afternoon, Malaki appeared on the balcony, intending to denounce the vermin of mulch and rot. He looked out and saw them: window boxes, cracks in stairwells, a communal plot in the old plaza where his statue used to stand before it was quietly pulled down. For a long moment he said nothing. Then he turned back inside and closed the shutters. Viridia did not heal in a day. The rivers still ran dark in places, and the treasury was poor with mercy. But food grew where it had not, and songs returned. Elara kept planting. Years later, children would point to the green climbing the castle walls and say it began with a woman who refused to wait for permission to make something live. And that, more than any throne, became the story Viridia remembered.